Hey guys, welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'm your host, HarryWilmington, and today we're going to talk about how to make your woman a more touchy-feely woman. Now, I am fortunate in that in my dating journey, because early on I was very much afraid to make any kind of move, whether it was letting women know that I wanted to go on a date with them or that I was feeling things for them or whatever. Oftentimes, I would very much hold back on trying to touch women for feeling that it was inappropriate or not knowing if it was the right time to do that. The upside to doing that is that very early on, I got a key lesson in women and touching that has benefited me my adult dating life. And it's that when I was going out with women, or I was able to actually get them on dates and we go out, and for a few dates I wouldn't touch them, what would start to happen is they would start to come to me and try to touch me. Now, at the time, I wasn't very aware of what all this meant. I thought maybe they were just being playful or flirty. I just really had it in my mind that women didn't like me like that and didn't want to get physical or go all the way with me. So any touches I would get, I would just assume were just nothings, and then eventually they'd lose interest. But as I got to be more conscious of how to date and the ways in which women show affection and attraction, one of the things that I keyed in on was that women, when I wasn't trying to initially come to them to touch them, were always trying to touch me. And as I get more into this show, we'll dive deeper into what that actually means and what lessons you can learn from that, okay? But suffice to say, in my adult life, all the women that I've ever dated have been touchy-feely. Or were they? Were these women that were extremely touchy-feely with me always touchy-feely women to begin with? Or did they ever consider themselves at one point not touchy-feely, and then I came along and they became touchy-feely? And if so, what were things that I was doing or not doing that made them want to be the touchy-feely ones? Let's go first into this guy's question that he asked. This guy wrote and he said he wanted to know, how do women feel if their significant other is super touchy-feely? He put this question on Reddit to women. And so he said, do girls feel uncomfortable? I naturally like to cuddle a lot and I am super touchy at times, but I feel like it is a huge turnoff for modern women since they mistake it with clinginess or neediness. When I say touchy and needy, an example would be after working a good few hours, I'll go cuddle in my 1 hour break or something. Also, I am super touchy-feely. How do I communicate that with my potential girlfriend effectively? So first of all, let's take off this part where he says modern women mistake being touchy with being clingy-feely, okay? That's not true. The reality is women have always felt like a guy that they weren't attractive to that was trying to touch them was being too needy or clingy, or a guy that they did like but early on was trying to touch them excessively could be seen as touchy and needy. But women who are highly interested in a guy desire his touch. They want his touch. They want to feel it. So the question then becomes, if you meet up with a woman who tells you that she's not a touchy-feely person, what does that actually mean? Does she actually mean it? Or on the other hand, you could be dating a woman that would actually be touchy-feely, but for some reason she's holding back and she's hesitant. What could that be about? Well, I'm going to go over a couple of women that had their own responses to the idea of being touchy-feely when in the past they weren't, okay? And it'll kind of give you insight into what it is that women go through as it pertains to their journey of touchy-feeliness, and then how you can benefit and figure out what lane to go in and how to respond and act so that way the women that you are with are going to want to be touchy-feely with you. And it's similar to some of the stuff that I also explored and was able to deal with in my dating journey that I'll talk to you about as well. So there's a woman that posted something that said, touchy-feely PDA. And she said, this is a novel concept for me. My ex was not touchy-feely in any way. It seems like now my current significant other and I are always touching. When we sit next to each other on the couch, we are touching, rubbing, holding hands. We hold hands or he touches my back if we are out. If I'm cooking, he rubs my shoulder. Last night, waiting for a table in a restaurant, his hands he put his hands in my jean pockets, just holding on, nothing obscene. He was playfully kicking my shoes. We would just stand there and hold on and hug. No sloppy kisses or over-the-top stuff. She says, I was never a PDA person because to my ex, it was inappropriate. But now it feels natural and not embarrassing. Not that I'm complaining, but is this what normal people do? So in her situation, she was a woman who was with a guy who was emphatically not touchy-feely, okay? And so when you come against women that have experienced that in their past, where they were the ones being called too needy or get away from me or touch me too much, they might be inhibiting touching because they're not aware that you yourself are actually very much open to it and desire it, okay? So she may be not wanting to rock the boat or think she's gonna scare you away because it bugged her ex so much that it maybe scared him away, okay? And so early on in your conversations, this is where a good idea comes up to bring up the idea of the book, The 5 Love Languages. Now, whether you believe in the 5 love languages or not, still bringing up this book about this idea that people show love and receive love with one of their 5 senses, whether it's or in 5 different ways, whether it's touching, whether it's doing acts of service, or these various other ones. One of the ones in that book it talks about is touching. And you can say, hey, I recognize in reading this book that I have this particular love language, and also that I'm very much a touchy-feely person. Okay, so that way you can let girls know early on that you like touch. Now, you can say I'm very touchy-feely, so that doesn't mean I'm overabundant and having to touch all the time. But if the woman I'm dating wants to give me a hug or touch here or hold my hand or whatever, I'm definitely open to that. So that'll let women that you're dating know that you do not mind being a person that's going to be touchy. Now, there are parameters to that because you might be a person that likes to be more touchy in private, but isn't a big PDA person. And so those are things that you can talk about in terms of what your boundaries or limitations are to this touching. Hey, I'm cool with it in the bedroom. I'm definitely cool with it walking around the house, but I'm not so cool with all types of PDA in public. I'm cool with holding hands, but maybe not kissing, or I'm cool with kissing, but not doing any overtly sexual innuendo type style touches in public. You can have those discussions, but again, just to talk to let her know that you're open to that kind of touch. Another person over here, she said, I thought I didn't like to be touched because I cringed every time my ex-husband touched me. It turns out I just didn't like the way he touched me, but he was also very against PDA, so it never happened in public. My new guy and I are always touching, similar to what you wrote about, and you and your significant other always holding hands, arm around me, pulling close for hugs. It's rare that we aren't touching. He asked me early on during one of our first dates if it was okay when he had his hand on my thigh when we were driving the car, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so this goes to show also, she said she would cringe every time her ex-husband touched her, okay? So this is another example because, again, women, if they're getting touched by somebody that they're not attracted to or don't closely know, then that can also make them be shy away from being touchy-feely. Now, I want you to really think about the journey of women, them growing up, and their own personal touch journeys growing up, okay? So from little girls, I was going to say from pre-puberty or when they start, growing various body parts that weren't there before. But really from a young age, people are always trying to hug little girls, touch little girls, sometimes appropriately, sometimes inappropriately, sometimes when they don't want to. I've seen so many parents be like, hey, no, go hug so-and-so. He's your uncle. Or go hug so-and-so. They're a friend. You can hug them. It's okay. Go ahead and just accept it. Women are being told to touch people a lot more than guys will ever have been told to them, okay? So you got to understand, in a woman's touch journey, there's been a lot of times where she has been told to do touches that she doesn't want to do, to the point where as she gets to be an adult and she's now in control of it, she may very well not be being open for people touching her or wanting to be able to take more of a slow pace at getting comfortable with the person that they don't know touching them. And so think about now an adult woman that's going on a date with a guy and it's her first date and he wants to go for some kind of touch. And at the point where she wants to push away or reject, the guy starts getting butthurt. He starts saying, well, why? I just want to give you a hug, or why can't I just kiss you on the cheek, or whatever, this and that. And so now she's again feeling forced to have to do these touches that she doesn't want to do. So anytime a woman's feeling forced to do that, it's not going to make her open to touch. It's not going to make her feel like you're going to be okay with her coming to you for that touch of her own accord, and it can cause her to be turned off. And believe it or not, there are women that are in long-term relationships that still are saying to their husbands or their long-term boyfriends, oh, I'm not really touchy-feely, I'm not really huggy, because that guy is constantly trying to beg for her to touch, or is trying to come to her and be like, oh, please let me touch you, or please let me do this or kiss you in some kind of way. And the truth is that in that relationship's touch journey, It was always on his timetable and when he wanted it, and her acquiescing to it so she won't rock the boat or make him feel bad, okay? And so that can cause a lot of women to just think that they're not a touchy-feely person. Now, somebody like me comes along who is very much in the realm of like, look, and I teach you guys this all the time too, is that the woman should be the first one to break the touch barrier. The woman should be allowed to tell you when to stop and start as you're trying to escalate up to the sexual realm of things. And then at that point, the woman should still be able to say, hey, I have certain boundaries here. Or if there's times where she doesn't want to be touched, you still be respectful of that, okay? But overall, what I'm saying is this, is that when you are respectful of a woman's touch journey, and when you are the one that's more patient, that's laying back and saying, hey, you know what? This whole idea of kinoing where guys have where it's like, oh, in order to make her feel more stuff, I got to touch her more. Well, that only works if she's comfortable with you touching her in the first place. And so this is why I tell you guys, you have to let her be the one to break that touch barrier, to be the one to, laugh and touch your shoulder when she's telling a story, or walk close to you, or reach out to hold your hand first. These are all things that allow her to go at the pace of touch that she needs, that she's comfortable with, to establish a touch journey with you. And as the more patient you are with that journey, you'll find the faster it actually gets, because I found that as a guy, if I'm trying to do all this touching first, it's very much going to slow down the pace at which she's comfortable with me doing that. Versus if I just kind of lay back and I'm there, we're having a good time, and I'm just trying to be there for her and be the best possible version of me that I can be for her when I'm showing up, then what typically will tend to happen is that she will see that, and she'll recognize that I'm being respectful of her, and she'll be the one to open up to me a lot faster and let me touch her in various places a lot faster, because I'm not at any given time trying to make her feel bad for where she's at in her touch journey, okay? And so the reason that every girl that I've dated up to this point has been a touchy-feely person is simply that, is because I lay back, I let them know I'm interested, but I kind of let them come to me at their own pace, and they respect that. And then even when they start touching me a lot more, I still typically do one touch for every 3 of their touches. So they're always the ones that are coming at me. And as I tell you guys on the show, and I've been saying it for a while now, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. If she's chasing for your touch, then she can't be rejecting your touch. So of the two of you, you need to be waiting for her to come to you initially to do that touch. Now, that does not mean that you sit back and don't escalate. You do. For every touch that she gives you, you touch her, and then at some point, you try to escalate the touch. If she's cool with it, she'll go along with it. If she's not quite there in her touch journey, you just scale back to the level that you guys were at, but it lets her know that you're open for that next level when she's ready for it. And then she comes to you, you do that next level, and then you try something else up to the point where you start doing physical stuff, okay? Very, very simple. That's how you make a woman be somebody who is a touchy-feely person. Another woman here says, not sure if this is an introvert thing or maybe just a me thing. She says, my family's super touchy-feely, so I grew up hugging constantly and hugging at my friends when I see them. But where I'm at, it's very normal to hug or at least shake hands with someone when you see them. Even though I was conditioned this way my whole life, it's actually not something I would normally do if I hadn't been raised in that environment. So again, she felt like in her environment where she grew up that she was being forced to do all these touches she didn't want to do, which is why she thought she was not a touchy-feely person, okay? She says, I didn't realize I was this way until I didn't see much of my friends and family, and I realized I only hug people when they initiate it, but usually I don't like my space invaded. Okay, so we're there. She doesn't like her space invaded because it feels like it's too much and it's not of her choosing, right? But she says, with my boyfriend, I'm a different person. I feel like a puppy who will die if I don't get a hug and kiss from him. I spontaneously feel the need to be physically close to him because he feels good to me. Just sitting next to him or holding his hand feels better than sitting on the other side of the couch. And I get sudden urges to go hug him for no reason. Listen again. This woman, get sudden urges out of nowhere to go hug him for no reason. Notice what she's not saying. She's not saying out of nowhere, my boyfriend gets these urges to hug me and I have to open my arms and let him do it even though I don't feel like it. She's saying he's sitting back, minding his own freaking business, and suddenly she desires his touch. Why? Because he's not on her like a lap dog saying, please hug me, please kiss me, please love me, please have sex with me. He's leaving her alone, and the result is that she is coming to him, okay? She says, what is wrong with me? Will I die if I don't get attention? Because my body thinks I am, LOL. I have to control myself because he's not used to being loved so much and he gets a little annoyed when I'm clingy, which is understandable because I would be too if someone was constantly in my face and touching me, but I can't help it. So she says she understands his problem is that she knows that if somebody was constantly on her, she feels some kind of way, but she still just can't help herself. Why? Because of the two of them, he's the one that's laid back saying, I'm cool, calm, and I'll let her come to me when she needs those touches. And it's a little excessive, but I'm still going to let her do that. Okay. She says, can anyone relate? Also, what helps you stop being so clingy? This is so weird. Oh, and she says, by the way, this is not a new relationship. We've been dating almost 4 years and we're together all the time. So it's not like I never see him. Sometimes I'm afraid of losing him, but there's very little basis for that fear. I just cherish our time together because life is unpredictable. So she's been with this guy for 4 years, and 4 years in, she's still being touchy-feely. Now think about that. How many guys do you know that say, well, early on she was touchy-feely with me, but then it's been a year in and now she's not nearly as touchy-feely? Guys think this is like a natural thing that happens, that like, oh, it's just natural for your woman to want to be less touchy-feely. But that's not really true. What happens is most men get with a woman, they start having sex, and then he starts wanting it all the time. He starts trying to touch her all the time, nonstop, without ever waiting for her to come to him. And then the woman subconsciously starts to get annoyed because it goes from her being able to choose when these touches happen to, oh, he's touching me all the time. Subconsciously, it's happening at times when she doesn't want it to happen. And over time, it makes her want to kind of push away a little bit. So that's why of the two of you, you have to be the one that's not constantly trying to dole out all these touches. Again, you want to show her that you desire her and you want to touch her, but you don't want to overextend it to where she's not coming to you. You always want it to set it up to where the woman is going to be coming to you for touching, because if she's coming to you, she can't be pushing you away from those touches, okay? And then the last comment that another woman left said, she said, with other relationships, I felt like they were touching me too much or talking to me too much. I felt smothered, but now I'm doing it. But what you said makes a lot of sense and I'm glad you shared it. So yeah, again, women, as much as we get this thing of like women don't want to chase men, women want to come to you. They want to come to you because they want to be the ones that they want to be the ones that have to go to you to get validation that you still like them. If you're constantly giving them validation all the time to where they don't ever have to come to you for that, then it's going to make it easy for them to start to lose interest and want to go away. Versus if you leave a little room for a little bit of doubt or a little bit of something in their head that says, I'm not sure how he feels about me. Let me go and touch him. Let me go and hug him. Let me go and kiss him. Let me go and turn him on so we can have sex right now so I can get that validation that I need. Okay? This is how you get women that were previously, quote unquote, not touchy-feely to suddenly come out of their shell and actually want to touch you all the time. Okay? And this isn't playing games. It's not a trick. It is simply what works best for women to be motivated to touch you. Is that of the two of you, she needs to be the one coming to you for touch. So you can't overindulge. As sexy as she is, as great as her curves are, you can't constantly be going to her and touching her nonstop and feeling her nonstop because that's going to turn her off. Okay? Give her the space and the room that she needs to be able to come to you for touch stuff, okay? And then for those women that were in previous relationships that weren't so PDA because the guy wasn't feeling some kind of way, recognize that that's a thing and recognize that you need to leave an open space to say, hey, I'm actually cool and okay with you coming to touch me. Feel free to do that as often as you like. And as the guy, if that starts to get a little frustrating, you can still kind of like, you have to be the one that has to kind of maneuver that and say, hey, like maybe touch not every single moment of the day and be the one that's going to like be monitoring that. But it's going to be better for you to monitor it than her being the one to monitor it. Now, if you have a problem getting out of your head and thinking that, oh my God, if I'm not touching her all the time or I'm not doing things, then she's going to, lose interest in me and go away, then that means that you need to modify your mindset and figure out why did you have those thoughts and feelings and come to a better understanding of how this stuff actually works so you'll be able to work in a better mode that's going to get you the touches you want. If you need my help with that, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for a one-on-one phone coaching session with yours truly, okay? You can also go there to check out my various ebooks, audiobooks, and programs, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. You can go there and sign up for the newsletter to get a free copy of my best-selling ebook and audiobook, No Girls For You, the ultimate guide to losing the girl of your dreams, which will point out to you why all the things you're doing right now to try to get women, like touching them all the time, is actually causing you to lose them, okay? Again, sign up with your name and email address and you'll get access to that right away. Also, guys, feel free to leave in the comments below on the YouTube page at youtube.com/HarryWilmington. If you have any questions or comments that you want me to answer on one of these shows, you can also write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. And if you want to support the show, subscribe to my YouTube channel or leave a Cash App at $HarryWilmington. That's all I got. I'm Harry Wilmington. We're doing 25 of these shows in a row leading up to December 25th. That'll be my 300th show. I'm excited for that. It's in a few days, so be back for that as well. And I'll catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.